Hello lovelies, welcome to Emma's Tales. Please subscribe and leave a like for us, it means the world to us. Also, share this video with your loved ones and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future videos from us. Thank you. As you do so, sit back and relax as we dive into the story. I watched Dad's new fiancée shove my sister off the porch on the ring cam, and that's when I knew she'd changed the locks on us. The scene played out on the 4-inch glare of my phone, jagged and too bright for the dim of my apartment. Sophie's face flashed, stunned, then furious. Zach reached to steady her, his backpack sliding off one shoulder. Marisol filled the doorway in a silk-wrap dress, hair blown out like she'd stepped off a magazine cover. She pointed one manicured finger toward the driveway. "Take your drama somewhere else," she snapped. The door rattled shut. Deadbolt.
Chain.
Silence. A red banner scrolled across the top of the feed. Motion detected. Front porch. 3:14 p.m. Another push alert rolled in behind it. The system I'd installed for Dad 2 summers ago, hurling receipts straight at my chest. I felt something inside me shift, the way brick crumbles under too much weight. Sophie staggered backward, catching her breath. Zach stared at the closed door like it was a math problem he couldn't solve. I should have been on that porch with them. Instead, I was 42 miles away, half-dressed for a Zoom meeting I'd already missed, fingers smudged with stale coffee as I pinch-zoomed the footage and hit record. A reflex, document first, figure out why later. The camera's tiny microphone picked up muffled sobs. My kid sister never cried in public. Marisol had to push hard to break that dam. For months ago, Dad called from the Caribbean with the kind of grin you can hear. He'd met someone extraordinary. 2 months ago, he announced the engagement. 1 month ago, Marisol moved her curated life into the house on Sycamore Street and began, brick by gentle brick, to wall us out. I watched the pattern but pretended it was mosaic, not fortress. Today the fortress showed its teeth. Sophie wiped her eyes and tugged Zach toward the car. Before she turned, she glared up at the ring lens at me, mouth moving. "Jenna, call me."
Now.
I grabbed my keys, heart stuttering. If Marisol thought a new set of locks could erase us, she'd find out every door in that house still answered to a lens wired to my phone. As I shoved a charger and half a protein bar into my tote, the past flashed like bad reception. Dad carving Thanksgiving turkey, sweat on his forehead, asking if anyone wanted extra crispy skin. Mom humming along to Stevie Wonder while repainting the porch rail the summer before the cancer. Zach balancing on the banister at 11, daring gravity while Sophie shrieked. Me, 16, sneaking in after curfew, the porch light flicking on, Dad waiting, pretending surprise at my lateness. Those memories flickered bright, then cut out, replaced by the hollow clack of Marisol's heels as she paced behind the door. I accelerated onto the interstate, Bluetooth dialing Sophie. She answered on the second ring, breath hitching. "Are you okay? Did she hurt you?" "I'm fine," she said, voice brittle. "Not a scratch. Just humiliated." "Tell me exactly what happened." Sophie's story spilled between toll booths. They'd driven over to drop off Dad's birthday gift, a framed photo of the 4 of us at a Braves game last year. Last time Dad looked purely happy. Marisol opened the door, saw the wrapped package, asked if it was for her. When Sophie said no, for Dad, Marisol went still. She stepped onto the porch, blocking the entry. Said Dad was resting. Said surprise visits were disruptive. Sophie insisted, "Just 5 minutes, please." Marisol's smile froze, then she lunged, shoving Sophie back, catching her off balance on the slick painted wood. Zach grabbed her, but Marisol kept her palm out like a crossing guard. "Boundaries," she said. While Sophie talked, I watched the live feed in the passenger seat cradle. Marisol returned, clutching a designer mug, standing on the porch with lazy poise, scrolling her phone. She didn't know the cameras fed straight to the cloud, or to the daughter she decided was expendable. Lightning cracked the summer sky, sudden and sharp as glass. Traffic slowed, wipers thumping. My phone buzzed, Dad calling. I almost veered but hit accept. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, voice warm, oblivious. "Everything okay?" I pictured him inside, maybe on the couch with a blanket, Marisol in earshot. "We need to talk face-to-face, Dad," I said carefully. "Can you step outside?" He hesitated. "Is this about the surprise party?" I told Mari to keep plans simple. Party? She'd sold him a distraction. I swallowed the ache. "It's not the party. I'm 20 minutes away." Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Rain hammered the windshield like pennies. The wipers smeared it into gray streaks. Dad sighed. "Let's leave the house drama for another day, okay, Jen?" The thinness in his voice scared me more than the rain. Dad never ducked a conversation. Marisol was scripting him. "No," I said, louder than I meant. "Today." A long pause. I can't right now." He hung up. I gripped the wheel so hard my knuckles blanched. Sophie's message pinged. "Don't do anything reckless." I typed while merging. "Reckless comes later. For now, evidence." On the screen, Marisol meandered to the porch swing, coffee steam curling into damp air. Then she looked at the camera, really looked, eyes locking with mine through the digital tunnel. My pulse jolted. She raised one eyebrow, the corner of her mouth sliding into a smirk. Slowly, deliberately, she stood, walked to the ring cam, tilted her head like posing for a portrait, and pressed her palm flat over the lens. Black. For a second I thought the rain had cut power. Then I realized what I felt wasn't darkness but rage. Clean, cold, clarifying. She wanted my silence. Instead, she'd given me a climax. The recording ended at 3:19 p.m., embedding itself in the cloud's indelible memory. She could smother the lens. She couldn't erase the past 5 minutes. I floored the accelerator. 15 miles. 14. The storm thinned, leaving streaks of sunset bleeding through. I rehearsed my words. Boundaries, elder abuse statutes, occupancy rights, camera footage admissible in court. But beneath the legal armor waited a single, furious sentence. "You don't get to erase us." At exit 42, my phone chimed. Zach's text. She called the locksmith. "He's still here." White van. I visualized Marisol handing over Dad's credit card, watching fresh locks turn, smiling so wide her cheeks hurt. She thought she'd won before we even played. I cut across 2 lanes and took the ramp, tires squealing. Asphalt curved toward Sycamore Street, each lamppost a metronome ticking down to confrontation. By the time I reached the oak-lined block, dusk had settled. Dad's house, our house, sat under a halo of porch light, new brass hardware gleaming like gold teeth. The locksmith's van idled at the curb, engine rumbling. I parked behind Sophie's car, breath tapping out Morse code. From this angle, I couldn't see the porch swing or the ring camera, just the dark maw where the lens sat hidden. Marisol's silhouette passed in the front window, phone pressed to ear. I opened my door and let the humid night slap me awake. 1 step, 2. The locksmith glanced up, eyes flicking nervous apology. Too late. I walked past him, up the steps, hand sliding along the rail once repainted by Mom's humming hands. At the top I paused, tracing the hairline scratch where Zach's skateboard had clipped the post. Memory was a map. I followed it to the door. I didn't knock. My key, the original, silver, edges worn by 100 hellos, hovered over the new lock. I tried it anyway. It slid in halfway, then stuck. A clean betrayal. Inside, Marisol's heels clicked toward the foyer. She swung the door open before I could pull back, eyes widening as if the camera hadn't warned her. For a heartbeat, neither of us spoke. Her perfume, something expensive, citrus and bite, mixed with the porch magnolias, turning familiar air foreign. "Boundary breach number 1, she said softly, lips curving. "How many more before we call this trespassing?" Her calm frightened me more than shouting. I lifted my phone, thumb on the screen. "You already called the cops once today. Want a sequel?" Her gaze flicked to the device. "Those cameras are coming down." "They're in Dad's name," I said. "And Georgia law says one-party consent for recording." A faint crack in her smile.
This isn't about law, Jenna.
It's about respect. I laughed, short and raw. You don't shove respect off a porch. Behind her, I caught a glimpse of the foyer. The family gallery wall was gone, replaced by minimalist mirrors. Mom's quilt chest missing. The house looked staged, like we'd never lived here at all. I stepped forward. Marisol moved to block me. Thunder rumbled miles away. From somewhere deeper in the house came Dad's voice, muffled, questioning. He didn't know yet. Not about the shove, the locks, the camera blindfold. My anger folded into something sharper, resolve.
We're not done, I said.
You covered one lens. The other 9 still roll. First thing Dad sees tonight will be the unedited highlight reel. Her pupils tightened, a pulse jumping in her throat. You wouldn't. Watch me. I took a deliberate step back, down the stairs, feeling the distance grow like a drawstring pulled tight. Marisol kept her eyes on me, hand on the doorframe, knuckles white. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. At the sidewalk, I turned once more. She lifted her palm, fingers splayed, like she could block me from here. Then, without a word, she pulled the door shut. The porch light flicked off. In the sudden dark, my phone vibrated. Cloud upload complete. Proof secure. I exhaled, long. The night air tasting of wet earth and electricity. Somewhere above, the storm regrouped, ready for a second strike. This was only the opening scene, I realized. The house, the cameras, the lies, they were the stage. Tomorrow the real play would begin, and every seat was front row. I climbed into my car, engine idling, eyes fixed on the blank lens above the porch, an unblinking socket waiting for its sight. The screen on my phone remained black, but I watched it anyway, heartbeat sinking to its silence, knowing Chapter 2 would start the moment that feed flickered back to life. Dad's voice crackled through the speakerphone the day the cruise ship docked. Honey, I met someone. I was knee-deep in spreadsheets, earbuds dangling, the kind of Tuesday that smells like stale coffee. His words yanked me into full technicolor. 2 months at sea celebrating early retirement had apparently delivered him a souvenir with perfect cheekbones and a laugh like champagne. He called her Marisol, like the sun and the sea put together, he said, beaming so hard I could feel it through the line. I managed a congratulatory squeak, then muted myself and stared at the cubicle wall while he gushed about salsa nights, deck chair sunsets, how she made him feel 30 again. My heart wrestled with 2 truths. I wanted Dad happy. I didn't trust lightning love. A week later, he invited us to Sunday dinner to meet the miracle. Sophie arrived first, bright yellow sundress, optimism radiating. Zach rolled in next wearing a vintage Braves cap, suspicious but hungry. I came last, a peace offering of tiramisu sweating in the July heat. Marisol floated into the foyer in a linen jumpsuit, gold hoop earrings, scent of bergamot and money. She gave each of us a hug timed to the millisecond, long enough to register warmth, short enough to avoid intimacy. At the table, she praised Dad's cooking, then pivoted to freshening the space. The floral wallpaper Mom chose in '03? Whimsical, but maybe too nostalgic. The sagging porch swing? Charming, though a more modern seating set would invite conversation. Sophie laughed it off, but I caught the quick flicker behind her smile. Family artifacts were being appraised in real time, and the grades weren't good. Marisol talked boundaries between forkfuls of roast chicken. Adult children need their own lives. Newlyweds need breathing room. Dad nodded, eyes soft. He was a man who'd mourned faithfully for 5 long years. Love felt like resurrection. I held my tongue until dessert, then asked casually, so, Mari, where's home for you? She swirled her wine. Home is wherever the next chapter is written. An answer polished smooth by repetition. Week 2. I stopped by after work with Dad's mail. Marisol led me to the living room while Dad took a work call. A real estate magazine lay open on the coffee table, circled ads for turnkey bungalows in Austin, Charleston, Boise, everywhere but here. Thinking of investing? I asked. Just research. She folded the magazine shut, slide-tucking it beneath a cushion. When Dad returned, Marisol excused herself to check on the contractor quote. Dad looked giddy. She's got vision, huh? Vision's great, I said carefully. Just make sure you still recognize the view. He laughed like I was joking. Week 3. I noticed the cherrywood secretary desk had sprouted a tiny brass lock. Dad had never locked anything in his life. 2 manila folders peeked out from the top shelf. One stamped First Savannah Bank, the other Sycamore Street deed. I tried the handle. It held. Marisol appeared behind me, silent as a cat. Paper cuts Dad's fingertips, she said, brandishing a key. I keep his files safe. I stepped back. Sure. My pulse hammered. That night, I bought fresh batteries for the dormant security system I'd installed pre-college, back when porch pirates were a novelty. I reactivated every camera, from the doorbell to the attic crawlspace, and set the cloud storage to forever. Dad clapped like I'd fixed the Wi-Fi. Marisol's smile thinned. Week 4. Sunday brunch on the patio. Marisol unveiled color swatches like a game show host. Taupe, grayish, something labeled passive whisper. Mom's sunflower yellow kitchen walls were suddenly too stimulating. Dad agreed to repaint, for resale value someday. My chest tightened. Resale? After dishes, Marisol produced a slim folder. Honey, will you sign these? Just bureaucratic wedding junk. Dad reached for his reading glasses. I asked what the forms were. Power of attorney, temporary, she chirped. So I can sign vendor contracts while he golfs. Dad's handwriting still works, I said. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Marisol's eyes cooled half a degree. Vendors need 1 point of contact. Saves headaches. Dad tapped the pen, uncertain. I leaned in. Let's have Wilson look these over. Wilson Haynes had been our family attorney since car seats. Dad trusted him implicitly. Marisol laughed, as if I'd suggested hiring the Secret Service. It's 2 pages, Jenna. We're not signing over organs. But the folder disappeared into her tote. The next morning, Dad texted the family thread a photo, 2 signed documents embossed with notary seals. Marisol captioned it #teamwork. My stomach rolled. Week 5. Bank statements began arriving electronically, not by mail. Dad mentioned Marisol had simplified his accounts, fewer passwords to remember. I asked which bank. He waved vaguely toward the locked secretary. Sophie, ever the diplomat, suggested a sibling lunch with Marisol, to bond. Marisol accepted, then rescheduled 3 times before canceling with a cheerful gif, a kitten popping out of a coffee cup. Busy with vendors, she texted. Boundaries, babes. Sophie replied with a heart emoji. I sent none. Week 6. Zach phoned me from the front yard. Jay, there's a dumpster in the driveway.
Isped over.
The dumpster overflowed with porch railings, floral wallpaper, Mom's chipped mixing bowls, the suede recliner where Dad fell asleep during Braves games. A contractor crew gutted the kitchen while Marisol snapped before and after photos.
She waved.
Demo day. Dust floated in afternoon light like ash. She told us the contractor offered friends and family pricing, but Dad admitted he hadn't seen a quote. Mari was handling the numbers. That night, I exported all camera views to a private folder named Evidence. Just in case. Week 7. Wilson called me. Jenna, did your father mean to grant full financial POA until he shuffled papers indefinite? My pulse spiked. I thought it was temporary. It's notarized, witnessed, and unlimited. A dull roar filled my ears. I drove straight to Sycamore Street. Through the window, I saw Dad and Marisol laughing over takeout containers. The lock on the secretary desk had been replaced by a steel filing cabinet. Progress, she'd call it. I rang the bell. Marisol opened, surprise polished into politeness. Dad hugged me, oblivious to my tremor. I told him Wilson had questions about the paperwork. Marisol swooped in. Legalese, yuck. Promised she'd clarify with Wilson tomorrow. Dad, tired, offered leftovers, and shuffled off to bed. She escorted me to the porch. I understand loyalty, she whispered. But marriage is about trust. Try supporting us instead of spying. I held her gaze. Trust requires transparency. She smiled pityingly, then closed the door, gently, like tucking in a child. Week 8. Wednesday night bled into Thursday morning. I woke to the ring chime. Motion detected. Driveway. 2:07 a.m. Groggy, I tapped the live view. Marisol stepped through the garage door, ponytail loose, face spare. She dragged a banker's box labeled important to her SUV. Came back for another. And another. 12 in total. The porch light was off. Only the camera's infrared painted everything ghost white. On trip 7 she paused, glanced straight at the lens, like checking a mirror, then kept walking. I hit record. Screenshots stacked like proof of breath. One box read Dad Medical. Another Mom Letters. My hands shook so badly, I nearly dropped the phone. When the hatch finally shut, Marisol wiped her palms on her leggings, climbed into the driver's seat, and drove off without headlights. The driveway emptied, rain beginning to fall, obscuring the tire tracks. The timestamp read 2:31 a.m. I sat on the edge of the bed till dawn, the glow of my phone carving hollows under my eyes. Evidence was no longer abstract. It was cardboard, Sharpie ink, and midnight wheels. At 8, I forwarded every clip to Sophie and Zach, subject line. We need to talk, today. Then I brewed the strongest coffee I could stand and waited for daylight, for confrontation, for whatever came next. The house on Sycamore Street had turned its cameras back on me, and the footage didn't lie. Love can be blind, but it never has night vision. Thanksgiving week arrived the way coastal autumn always does. Sky a hard blue, pecan trees half-stripped, the air smelling of chimney smoke and cinnamon. Tradition said we spent Tuesday night at Dad's, hauling Rubbermaid bins of turkey-shaped platters and sagging garlands out of the attic, so the house would look festive when the relatives rolled in. This year Sophie texted, "Meet at 2, I'll bring cider donuts." Zach answered with a thumbs-up gif. I packed the trunk with string lights and the framed menu Mom hand-lettered our last holiday together. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Sycamore Street was quiet when we pulled up, leaves swirling in little eddies across the driveway. The dumpster was gone, renovation debris replaced by a stark new mailbox that gleamed like a badge. Sophie bounded ahead, donuts in one arm, optimism in the other, until she reached the porch. She froze, backing away so fast powdered sugar puffed into the breeze. A square of cardstock was taped beneath the ring camera, family visits by appointment only. Marisol below the note, a numeric keypad lock we'd never seen. No more keyholes, no more silver winking of familiarity. Just stainless steel and silence. Zach tried his key anyway. It scraped air. He knocked. Nothing. Knocked harder. An unfamiliar dog barked inside. Marisol's new rescue, apparently allergic to in-laws. The three of us stood there, wind lifting the corner of the note like a taunt. I took a breath, opened my phone, and pulled up the clips I'd saved from the 2 a.m. exodus. I hit play. On the porch, the ring lens blinked red as if it, too, remembered. Sophie watched Marisol load box after box. The color drained from her cheeks. Zach muttered something violent under his breath. Dad has to see this, Sophie whispered. Agreed, I said, but not on speakerphone with her listening. We're treated to my car. Windows up, bakery warmth trapped inside. I punched Dad's number. It rang 4 times before he answered, voice bright, like he'd been rehearsing happy. Hey, Svet Bea. Everything okay? Dad, we're on the porch. The locks are changed. A pause. Paper rustled. Oh, Mari mentioned you all volunteered to spend Thanksgiving with friends this year. She said you wanted freedom to travel. Zach's fist thudded the dashboard. Sophie let out a sound somewhere between laugh and sob. Dad, I said, steadying my voice, we're looking at a sign that says we need appointments to visit our own childhood home. That isn't our idea. Static crackled. I didn't know. Behind him, I heard Marisol's smooth alto, too faint to parse but unmistakably instructing. Let me sort this out. Can we talk later? Before I could answer, the line died. We spent Thursday eating grocery store turkey in Sophie's apartment. Dad sent a group text, "Love you all, grateful every day," followed by a photo of himself and Marisol in matching aprons, her arm looped through as like a trophy. Not a single family heirloom on the table. Everything glinted stainless and showroom white. Zach silenced his phone. Sophie slipped into the bathroom and cried. I watched the security feed instead of football. Marisol's dog trotted down the hallway wearing a monogrammed sweater. Dad carried boxes of Christmas decorations we'd made in grade school. Only now they were painted matte gold, unrecognizable. My brother drifted to sleep on the couch, and in that hush I made a decision. We were done waiting for permission to belong. December 15th, the annual Lights on Sycamore block celebration. Every porch, but Dad's was strung with blinking candy cane bulbs. Ours glowed a tasteful soft white, controlled by a smart system Marisol could dim with her phone. Sophie parked 2 houses down. Zach arrived on his motorcycle, jaw clenched under the helmet. I wore Mom's vintage reindeer sweater like armor. We carried thermoses of cocoa as props and marched up the walk. The keypad pulsed blue when I pressed the ring button. Marisol answered over the speaker. Yes. It's us, I said. Her exhales steamed through the microphone. Unannounced visits are trespass. We brought ornaments, Sophie tried. Ones Dad loves. A clatter inside, keys, maybe a phone. Then her voice, sharp. Leave before I call the police. Zach stepped into the camera's view. Do it, he said. I'd love a witness. I had already started the cloud live stream, everything funneled to a folder labeled Holiday Showdown. Marisol must have seen the tiny red recording light because the porch lamp switched off, plunging us into winter dark. We waited, breath fogging. Sirens always sound distant until they don't. Blue lights washed the curb 10 minutes later. 2 patrol cars. Neighbors peered through wrought iron railings, phones ready for neighborhood app fame. Officer Ramirez approached, mid-40s, steady gaze. We've got a trespass complaint, he said. Name? Jenna Whitaker, homeowner's daughter. These are my siblings. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. He flicked his flashlight at the keypad. You live here? Our father does. The deed's still solely in his name. I handed him a folder. Photocopy of the deed, Dad's signature clear. Marisol Winters is his fiancée, not his wife, not on title. The second officer, Ngwin, radio dispatch. Ramirez studied the papers, then my phone screen where the live feed showed our faces in grainy monochrome. You're recording? For everyone's safety. He nodded once. All right. Technically, without the owner's invitation, we can't force entry, even if you're family. Domestic situation. We can, however, ask him directly. Ngwin hit the doorbell. Inside, footsteps. The door cracked open, warm light spilled onto cold concrete, and stopped at the threshold like it, too, needed permission. Marisol appeared first, hair immaculate, lips of festive crimson. Her expression slid from triumph to practiced concern. Officers, thank goodness. They've been harassing us for weeks. Ramirez kept his voice neutral. Ma'am, is Mr. Whitaker home? Dad emerged behind her, tie crooked as if yanked on last minute. His eyes flicked to Zach's motorcycle, to Sophie's puffy coat, to the deed in Ramirez's hand. Confusion crumpled his features. Dad, I said, and every syllable hurt. We just want to decorate like always. Marisol touched his arm. They promised to celebrate elsewhere, remember? Boundaries. Ramirez cleared his throat. Sir, do you wish these individuals to leave? The porch bulbs reflected in Dad's glasses, tiny pricks of light, like decisions taking shape. He opened his mouth, closed it. When he finally spoke, his voice was the smallest I'd ever heard it. Maybe it's best if we talk after the wedding. Air left my lungs in a single raw gust. Sophie's thermos slipped, cocoa splattering the steps like mud. Ramirez exhaled through his nose, empathy muted by duty. Understood, sir. He turned to us. I'm going to need you folks to head out. No problem, officer, I said, steady even as my heart cracked. I pressed stop on the recording. Could I have your badge numbers for my notes? They obliged, professional, subdued. Marisol watched, lips twitching when she thought no one saw. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. We backed down the steps. Sophie whispered, I love you, Daddy. But he'd already turned, silhouette swallowed by house light. The door closed soft, final, mechanical. Back on the sidewalk, Christmas music drifted from a neighbor's speaker, tinny and too cheerful. Zach kicked his stray ornament until it shattered. Sophie wiped tears with mittened fists. I copied the fresh footage to evidence. My thumb shook, but the upload bar crawled forward, indifferent to heartbreak. Somewhere inside that house our childhood glimmered under coats of passive whisper paint, waiting for someone brave enough to peel the layers back. Not tonight, but soon. New Year's Eve crept in like a thief, frost glazing the gutters of my apartment while the city below rehearsed midnight's fireworks. I should have been out with friends, or at least letting Netflix autoplay something forgettable, but every bang of a bottle rocket felt like a reminder. We were running out of time. Marisol's wedding date, February 1st, hovered on the calendar like a guillotine. I propped my laptop on the kitchen counter, poured black coffee despite the hour, and opened the Ring dashboard. 36 days worth of footage waited. I slipped on headphones and pressed play. Clip 1, Deck 18th, 2:43 a.m. Marisol stands in the garage, wearing Dad's old parka, rolling a hand truck stacked with banker's boxes. She talks to someone on Bluetooth. Yes, the mint condition Braves pennant 2. Start auction at 800. We'll let bidding decide. Clip 14, Deck 22nd, 11:07 p.m. Same route, different cargo. Dad's guitar, the one he'd strummed lullabies with. She barely fits it into the SUV, curses when the strap snags, then laughs. Boomer nostalgia sells. Clip 29, Christmas morning, 5:12 a.m. Marisol at Dad's desk, camera seeing her through the study window. She's on a banking site moving numbers from a pension account I recognize, Mom's survivor benefit, into a new joint account labeled M&J Future. Each click lands like a punch. I paused, hands ice cold on the mug. One fear had always kneaded my chest, that confronting her would snap whatever delicate love still tethered Dad to us. But watching her liquidate him dismantled any doubt. Fear of losing him was real. Fear of overstepping had become deadly. I opened a new browser tab and found the number for Maddox and Harrow Elder Law. The receptionist sounded surprised to answer at 10 p.m. Urgency must have bled through my voice because she patched me straight to Louisa Harrow, senior partner, reputation of breathing fire in probate court. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Tell me what you have, Louisa said. Video. Bank transfers. A rush wedding date. Bring it tomorrow, 9 sharp. I'll loop in a forensic accountant. I hung up, pulse quickening, not panic this time, momentum. 9 a.m., December 31st. Louisa's office smelled of cedar and old case law. She resembled a retired ballerina, small frame, back unbendable. I slid a flash drive across her desk. While she copied files, Elliot, the accountant, scanned printed screenshots of the pension transfers. His brows inched higher with every page. Who authorized these? He asked. Dad's fiancée. She has power of attorney. Elliot whistled. Same signature on the transfer as on this home equity loan application. He tapped the corner of a document I'd never seen. The loan was opened 3 weeks ago, $60,000 against the house. My stomach plunged. Dad would never borrow against the property. Not willingly, Louisa said. And if that signature's forged, we have fraud stacked atop financial exploitation. She drafted an emergency injunction while Elliot prepared an affidavit detailing irregularities. Court closed early for the holiday, so we filed by electronic docket, timestamp 12:17 p.m. a digital alarm bell ringing down the clerk's hallway. Hearing set for January 3rd, 72 hours away. Louisa folded the confirmation printout. Between now and then, convince your father to testify. Judges love a victim who's woken up.
How?
I whispered. Give him the truth louder than her lies. I drove to the riverfront and parked beneath a sycamore, bare branches skeletal against slate sky. It was nearly dusk. Across town, fireworks vendors dragged plywood stalls to street corners, but here the water lay flat and gunmetal, echoing nothing. I opened my email, attached 4 of the clearest clips, titled the message read now. Fingers hovered, sending felt like detonating a bridge. I added Sophie and Zach in CC. Court date January 3rd. Watch, then call me. Press send. Replies came within minutes. Sophie. How can people be this cruel? Zach. Tell me where to park the tow truck. I half smiled. Warriors, both of them. Night settled. The first backyard fireworks popped red over the marsh, reflections trembling. I imagined Marisol's polished kitchen, champagne flutes clinking while she tallied online bids. My phone buzzed. Elliot. Jenna, trace the loan doc metadata. Signed from an IP address registered to a WeWork in downtown Savannah. Day your father was at a cardiology appointment. 0 chance he was there. My gratitude tangled with nausea. Thank you.
He paused.
You okay? We'll be better when this stops. I ended the call and watched the river swallow another burst of color. For a moment the night smelled like sulfur and childhood. Then I started the car. January 1st, 8:22 p.m. Dad agreed to meet at Grady's Diner, neutral ground halfway between his house and mine. The vinyl booths hadn't changed since I was 12, still patched with duct tape that smelled faintly of maple syrup. He chose the corner booth, where Mom used to read crossword clues aloud. Seeing him there, shoulders rounded, eyes fog-tired, hurt worse than the footage. I slid into the seat, laptop already open. Before we talk, just watch. He adjusted his bifocals. Video rolled. Marisol wheeling the banker's boxes, muttering about gullible kids, the pension transfer. Her laugh when an auction bid hit $1,000. Dad's hand drifted to his coffee mug, but didn't lift. By the third clip his lips were parted, wordless. I gave her access, so planning the wedding would be easier, he murmured. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. She used that access to empty your accounts. He flinched, as if the sentence slapped. I clicked the home equity statement. Loan balance, $59,850. Monthly payments scheduled from his checking. That's our kitchen remodel money, he said, voice cracking.
No, Dad.
That's grand theft. Silence thickened. Waitresses refilled sodas 2 booths away. Oldies hissed from ceiling speakers. Finally, I played the last clip, Marisol on the phone saying, he'll sign anything if I call it love. Dad inhaled sharply, eyes shining. She said you kids resented me moving on, that you'd lied to keep me lonely. We never lied, I said. We tried to visit. She locked us out. He nodded once, like punctuation. Tears slid into his mustache. He didn't wipe them. I pulled the injunction paperwork from my bag. Hearing is in 2 days. We need you there. Judge will freeze accounts, strip her POA, maybe issue a restraining order. He stared at the packet, then at me. For a heartbeat, I feared the weight would crush him, that grief over another failed love would fold him in half. Instead, he straightened, shoulders squaring as if remembering they'd carried a family once. Bring every video to court, he said, voice low but steady. We end this now. The fireworks finale shivered the diner windows as we walked to the parking lot, crimson, gold, white cascading over the empty street. Dad looked up, breath frosting, each explosion illuminating the lines on his face like battle scars newly mapped. On the last crackling bloom, he set his hand on my shoulder, gentle yet iron. Thank you for not giving up. I swallowed the lump in my throat. We're Whitakers. We record everything. He almost laughed. Then he opened his truck door, paused, and met my eyes. Resolve had replaced confusion. Behind it, sorrow waited its turn. But resolve was enough for now. As he drove away, taillights blinking through drifting smoke, I realized I was breathing easier than I had in months. Tomorrow would bring subpoenas, depositions, maybe more lies, but the axis had tilted. Cameras didn't lie, courts kept receipts, and love, real love, didn't require blind faith. I climbed into my car, set the laptop on the passenger seat, and started the engine. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. The dashboard clock read 11:58 p.m. 2 minutes until a new year. I turned north toward home, fireworks still flaring in the rear view, and whispered into the dark, "Let the countdown begin." The courthouse smelled of waxed oak and rain-soaked coats, Savannah's answer to justice on a January morning. Dad and I sat side by side at the petitioner's table, the only sound between us the whisper of his thumb rubbing a groove into the coffee lid. Louisa Harrow adjusted her tablet, ready to throw a glacier of evidence at the bench. Across the aisle, Marisol glistened in pearl gray silk, a lawyer I'd never seen smoothing papers in front of her. She flashed me a smile, so thin it might have been carved with a scalpel. The bailiff called the docket. Whitaker versus Winters, petition for emergency relief. Judge Abernathy, late 50s, spectacles low on his nose, nodded for Louisa to proceed. She rose, spine straight as a sword. Your Honor, this is not a lover's quarrel. This is systematic financial exploitation of a vulnerable retiree. We have unambiguous video, forged signatures, and a home equity loan that bled $60,000 in 30 days. She tapped her tablet. The screen behind the bench flickered to life. Clip 1. Marisol in Dad's study, coaxing him to sign blank pages, promising just venue contracts, darling. The courtroom's collective inhale sounded like a wave breaking on rocks. Dad stiffened, but kept his gaze forward. Clip 2. Infrared footage of Marisol shoving bankers' boxes marked important into her SUV. A juror in the next case, Rowe muttered "Lord have mercy" before catching himself. Clip 3. Louisa's kill shot. Marisol laughing on speakerphone. He'll sign anything if I call it love. My chest hammered at the replay, but I watched Dad instead. Each syllable etched a new line at the corners of his eyes, like truth carving its initials. Marisol's lawyer, a slick Atlanta import named Beckett, objected on grounds of privacy. Louisa countered that the cameras were installed with Dad's consent years earlier. The judge agreed. Beckett pivoted to romance, arguing that love sometimes includes generous fiscal commingling. The gallery snickered. Louisa pressed the advantage. Elliot took the stand, explaining metadata and IP addresses, how Dad's digital signature magically appeared in a downtown co-working space at the same moment hospital parking logs showed him undergoing a stress test. Even Beckett stopped scribbling notes. I was next. Oath taken, I told the timeline. Dumpster, locks, Thanksgiving note, police lights against frosted wreaths. My voice only quavered when I described finding Mom's guitar listed on an online auction. Judge Abernathy watched me like he was cataloging fractures on porcelain, gently but with intent. Beckett tried to paint me as an overprotective daughter who struggled with boundaries. I met his stare. Boundary, I said, is not a synonym for theft. Quiet laughter rippled. The bailiff rapped his baton. At noon the judge recessed. In the hallway local reporter Dana Ricks lunged, microphone first. I waved her off. Louisa shielded Dad and me with a briefcase like a riot shield. Marisol, however, leaned into the camera, lashes at full flutter. This is a misunderstanding, she cooed, voice quavering on cue. I love Jonathan with all my heart. Dana asked about the forged loan. Marisol's cheeks twitched. Beckett whisked her away, but the video was already live streaming. Back in court, Louisa delivered her closing argument in 3 sentences. Love is honest. Fraud is not. Choose. Judge Abernathy did. Power of attorney revoked. All joint accounts frozen pending full audit. Temporary restraining order. Miss Winters shall remain 100 yards from Mr. Whitaker and his property until further notice. His gavel echoed like a door slamming on a storm. Dad exhaled, a sound half sob, half prayer. I squeezed his hand. He squeezed back, steady. Outside, cameras multiplied. Marisol exited flanked by Beckett and a windswept publicist. Dana shouted a question about the auction memorabilia. Marisol snapped. You people don't understand. They're ungrateful. She swung at the camera, palm connecting with the lens. The shove mirrored Sophie's porch tumble. Only this time a dozen smartphones caught every angle. Shouts, a stumbled curse, flashbulbs popping like firecrackers. The clip hit Twitter within minutes. By sunset, #TeamDad trended statewide. Marisol's meltdown didn't stop at the courthouse. That evening her Instagram, once curated past perfection, plunged into chaos. Comments filled with guitar emojis, old Braves logos, and a new meme of her face over a cartoon burglar's body. Beckett issued a cease and desist threat. The internet yawned and kept sharing. 3 days later, the injunction reached the bank. Accounts froze like pawns in sudden frost. The court-appointed receiver inventoried assets and, with police supervision, opened Marisol's rented storage unit. We stood outside while officers pulled box after box. Mom's handwritten recipe cards, Dad's Navy shadow box, the ceramic duck gravy boat he always joked was too ugly to break. Sophie cried silent, heavy tears. Zach muttered apologies to each item as if they were living things saved from a flood. Locks were next. A locksmith Dad chose unscrewed Marisol's keypad with swift contempt, replacing it with polished hardware that clicked open to my old silver key. Don't forget to like and drop a comment. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Dad tossed the keypad into the dumpster's replacement. A charity drop-bin marked Safe Harbor Women's Shelter. Irony sang sweet in the winter air. Inside, restoration became ritual. We rehung photographs stripped from walls, patched nail holes Marisol had left like needle pricks. The contractor returned, under new contract, transparent as glass, to reinstall Mom's sunflower yellow paint in the kitchen. Dad's guitar took its rightful perch near the fireplace. Even the porch swing revived, new chains singing metallic lullabies. Dad began therapy Wednesday afternoons at the downtown community center. Financial abuse survivors, group of 5 men and 3 women with eyes that understood his shame. After sessions he'd text, learned boundary homework. Proud. Sophie and I traded relief emojis. Zach replied with a bicep flex. Dinner rotation took shape. Monday, Sophie's chili. Thursday, Zach's bar-smoked ribs. Sunday, my lemon garlic salmon. Dad insisted on setting the table, aligning forks with an engineer's precision. Every meal he'd pause, as if counting blessings visible only to him, then say, "Let's eat while it's hot." The fragile lilt of those nights evolved, week by week, into unforced laughter. I spent 2 Saturdays installing a fresh camera system, wider angles, encrypted cloud, 2-factor login. At Dad's request, we mounted one overlooking Mom's rose bed. When the setup screen prompted an email, I typed Jonathan.Whitaker1951 at Proton. Me, not mine. We shared administrative rights, but he kept the master password. Transparency, not surveillance. Louisa would have approved. One evening he caught me adjusting the driveway cam. "You know," he said, "I don't feel watched. I feel backed up." He chuckled at his own pun, and in that sound I heard steel hammered into shape. Spring crept in, daffodils cracking frozen soil. The receiver filed her final report. Marisol had siphoned $92,000 in 8 weeks. Most was recoverable. Whatever wasn't, Dad shrugged off as tuition paid to the University of Hard Knocks. Louisa would later quip we'd gotten a scholarship. Grand jury indicted Marisol on 3 felony counts. She pled not guilty, out on bond. Instagram now dormant save for a final post quoting Nietzsche about the will to power. The comment section suggested alternative philosophers, mostly Dr. Seuss. Local station WSAV aired a feature titled Ring of Truth, How Home Cameras Exposed Financial Abuse. They spliced Marisol's courthouse meltdown with Louise's soundbite about vigilance. Dana asked me to appear. I declined, but Dad surprised me by accepting. On screen, he looked smaller than I remembered, yet radiant with something calmer than triumph. Love survives truth, he told viewers. Money can't buy that, or hide from it. The clip amassed 50,000 views in a weekend. Late April, Sunday dusk. Sophie lit citronella candles, while Zach tuned the grill. Dad emerged from the house carrying Mom's quilt, spread it over the porch swing, and settled down with a watering can. He angled the spout, letting water glug around tender shoots of blooming roses, yellow, her favorite. My phone buzzed soft. Motion detected. Rose bed. I glanced at the preview image. Dad, silhouette against mauve sky.
No panic spiked, no dread curled.
Just a gentle reminder that life persisted, captured and stored, but no longer in hiding. I pocketed the phone and walked to the porch. Dad looked up, face brushed gold by setting sun. They're coming in strong this year, he said.
She'd like that.
She does like it, I corrected, sitting beside him. Breezes carried grilled pepper scent and distant laughter. Inside, the house glowed warm, lamps shining on walls that held our story intact. Family doesn't end when someone locks a door. It ends when no one knocks again. We had knocked, kicked, sued, testified, whatever it took. The house stood because truth had keys of its own. Fireflies winked on. Somewhere behind me the camera's little green LED glowed steady, sentry and witness both. I smiled, not at the lens, but at what it now represented. And so, echoing the storm-soaked night this saga began, I close with certainty stitched to bone. Now when my phone pings at night, it's just Dad watering Mom's roses, safe in the home we almost lost. Hey lovelies, thanks so much for sticking around till the end. If you felt something, learned something, or just enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button.
See you next time, bye.